post-accident, there's someone called Desiree. I call her my personal angel, that left her family 2 days, was sleeping on the same bed with me in the hospital, bathing me, feeding me. This is a complete stranger that did not speak my language. She spoke French. There was that level of humanity I saw. Then there was Yasmin that let me in her home and didn't make me feel uncomfortable while they were fixing my car. Almost 10 days.
Hello, guys, and welcome to yet another episode on the Stretch Street podcast. This is the energetic EJ. And you know exactly what I'm going to say next, right? Yes, I am super excited. And today, my excitement is even a notch higher. I'm super excited to be here again this week on the Stretch Street podcast. Of course, you know how we do it here. We document stretch stories, reminding you that challenges are not exclusive to any of us. We all go through them. But when we assume the posture to ask the question, what is this challenge here to teach me? We're able to distill those lessons. And then by the time we share those lessons, whether we share with ourselves or with other people, it makes us more valuable. It adds color to our lives and we become better in the society. And so that's the aim of this podcast, to inspire you, to let you know that you are not alone. Okay, so today on the show, woo, 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 woo. Let me just tell you about the excitement again. My guest today is a Nigerian British travel content creator who has been to over 80 countries. And then she was like, that's not enough. She decided to go on an audacious journey. Guys, I'm sure you probably know who I'm talking about, but if you don't, maybe you're listening to this podcast for the first time and you don't know, where are you? Anyways, my guest today is the first woman to solo drive from London to Lagos. And she didn't do it in an SUV. She didn't do it in a caravan. She did it in a Peugeot 107. Like, who does that? And guess what, guys? Now she is the Lagos Tourism Ambassador. And one of the things I love most about her is the fact that she's one of the most down to earth person that I have ever met. Like, seriously, what you see is what you get. So all the excitement that you're going to see on this episode today, just believe it that if you're in the same room with her, that's exactly the same thing you will feel. She has this beautiful aura and this almost like purity around her. And it's such a pleasure to be hosting her on the podcast today. So sit back, relax, grab your cup of tea, your cup of coffee, because we're about to get into some juicy conversation with Pelumi Nubi. I'll be right back with my guests.
Born in Lagos, Nigeria, grew up in the UK, have a very, very big passion for travel, and I just want to show the world to people. I suffer from dyslexia and become quite reliant on people. With travel, I found the freedom of just being able to go without permission. So far, I've been to 80 countries across 6 continents. And yeah, I'm excited to just keep exploring. I decided to go on a solo drive from London to Lagos because London is a place I considered home and Lagos is also another place I consider home. So I was really trying to connect my 2 homes together and the journey that links them. In terms of challenges, especially as a solo female traveler, sometimes, you have to consider safety, you have to consider the money, the cost of actually traveling and going to these places, and really how much time, weather, the little details that you would not think was important, but became important, visa, crossing, all of that stuff. Actually enjoying it as well, that was important for me. The connections I was going to make, the people I wanted to meet, the cultural experiences I wanted to have, those were all the things I had to think about when planning this trip. Because I'm a big believer of using kind of the tools and the things you have and not waiting for things to be perfect. So I decided to take my own personal car. It's a Peugeot 107. It's a tiny car. It's a city sprinter, as they know it as. And I've actually converted it. So I've put a bed in there. I've done a makeshift kitchen in there. I think it would be a whole different experience rather than just like, staying in a hotel and stuff. Obviously just trying to cut down on cost, but it's also going to be an interesting experience for myself. I'm using what I have, and I think it's important for other people to realize you don't need the big fancy things to be able to go out there and explore.
Hello, 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 hello.
Talk about an intro. My head was just swelling. I was like,
It reached, it reached for your head to swell because
what
what?
a warm intro.
What?
Thank you so much, sis. It's such a
So
pleasure to
good.
be here.
So
And
good to
massive
have
shout
you
out to
here.
everyone listening right now. Sending you so
Absolutely.
much love your way.
Absolutely. You are such an inspiration. And it's no longer cliche. It is just the truth. The first time I saw the ad, I think when you started with the teasers, when you had that backpack and you were
Yes.
running in, like, "Ah, what's this woman up to like this?"
Why are you running? Is that what you're thinking?
We're like, "Ah,
There
what's
was a
this woman?"
mission ahead. That's why I
Honestly,
was
in
running.
my head, I was thinking, which brand is she trying to advertise for? You know? And we kept watching, kept watching. The next one we saw was, I am traveling from Lagos from London to
It's so weird what the thing that happened for what you're seeing. Does that make sense? So, for example, that brown cardboard thing, I was meant to be in central London. You know that guy that owed different statements in like in New York City, I think, and says random things on it. So that was my thing, just to catch people's reaction. But I ran out of time. So I just said, like, you know what? This is not what the vision was originally, but I'll make do of the resource I have. And I decided to film that. And that's one of my most viral posts because people were just like, what is this lady up to?
honestly. And I mean, even when you made that announcement, I'm sure a lot of people will be like, eh,
Hmm.
how? How? And then I started to show us the car, like a small car, not even big car, not 4x4, not not a caravan. Let's know that okay, you're in a moving house. So my
All
first
those things I
question,
desired but just couldn't. The trip
right?
was so expensive. And I think the bigger message I wanted to put out there was making use of the things you have.
Hmm.
Ideally a 4x4 would have been great and more comfortable. But a lot of people don't even start the adventure because they feel that they have to have everything figured out, they have to have all the right things. And I was trying to spread the message that look, having just half of what you think you need sometimes is more than enough. And that was a testament to my journey. I was able to complete it with barely completed it, but we did it with what I had, and it was just important to put it out there.
Wow, fantastic, fantastic. So, my first question to you, I think this question is going to be layered in
Hmm.
at the different stages of that journey.
Okay.
Before you started, from the moment of conception, what was
Mhm.
the thing you feared the most, and how were you able to silence that fear for you to
Mm.
move on to actually actualizing this dream?
Finances was a big thing. I knew how expensive this trip would easily rack up. And what silence did was, okay, we'll make use of what we have. We'll make use of the vehicle we have. Okay, accommodation will be very expensive. Okay, we'll put in built bed and we'll sleep in the car. Okay, food. Da, da, da. Okay, we'll eat by the street and keep it on the budget. Don't have to do fancy and flourish. Like there was always that doubt. There was always that what if, what could have, what should have, what constantly. And it was me needing, like you said, reassuring and reaffirming myself with solutions. They were not the most ideal, they were not the, robust, but at least they were tangible and they were present right there and there. And that helped with the process over time.
I love it. I love it. So, would you say, because I'm curious to know, would you say this is the highest adventure or the most daring adventure yet for you? Because I know you're a traveler
Mhm.
naturally. So I'm sure you've probably gone on some trips that were like, hey,
Nobody has
how
said.
did you do it?
I love this question. And you're so right. People came to join this my journey for London to Lagos, but I've visited 80 plus countries. They've been backpacking across Europe. I've done almost all the European, countries, if not every single one of them. Then I've done, traveling all the way to Australia when I was barely a teenager by myself. I've done 2022, I did 10 African countries. Similar to this, I didn't drive, I used public transport. So I flew in some and I took land borders for others. So, solo drive across Namibia, 4,000 kilometers by myself, camped under the stars, and it was an incredible experience, one of my best travel experiences to date. So they've been, years and years of practice, and I think that's what a lot of people did not get to see. So it was almost like an overnight success. It was a very much, oh, she just blew. And I'm like, yeah, 8 years in the making. So there's definitely that behind the scene a lot of people don't get to see,
Mm,
but it's very needed and almost a rite of passage. You cannot just blow. You have to have been putting that building block in place to make it a thing. But yeah, there've been other crazy adventure. This I would say was quite audacious. It's definitely top three if I have to put it in that way. If not the biggest so far. I was crossing continent, crossing over 16 different countries by myself. This is usually an expedition that is by a group of people. You have someone in charge of
right.
logistic, cook, all of that. But having to wear multiple hats while churning out content at the same time, it definitely was an extra layer. But yeah, I would do it again in a heartbeat.
I know. And I was so like, it's almost like if you dare now and say, ladies or guys who wants to come along with me, oh my god, you got a whole city.
That would be epic. That would be epic to get a whole bunch of people
Honestly, that would be
doing
great.
something like that. We'll see.
Wow. Okay, let's take you back a little bit. I am curious to know, and I'm sure so my audience will be as well. What was your first experience traveling, and what ignited this desire or this passion for travel?
That's a good one. So my first travel experience, my first local experience was I think I took a flight from Lagos to Abuja, which was fun. I was just like, that was my first memory. I think maybe 7, 8 years old. That was my first time on a plane. Um, and then my first international trip, I remember I was around 9, 10 years old. We went to America. And I remember sitting on the window seat and I remember looking at mom, I was like, is this heaven? I think we're up in the cloud. And she's like, yeah, close. I was like, wow. Like I was just so fascinated. And I think that planted a seed. And then I migrated to the UK where I started my life over here. But sadly, it was actually from a place of pain my travel came from, whereby I was bullied after migrating to the UK. A lot of people don't know that story, whereby making kids can be mean, called me fresh
Mhm,
off the boat and bleak, which means my darker skin and all of that stuff. So I retired to the library where I deeply fell in love with books. And
mm,
I gravitated towards travel books, which I did not know were planting seeds of this amazing destination I get to see now as an adult.
wow.
But that was where the travel kind of like was conscious in my mind, like, oh, there are other places that are bigger than the UK or Nigeria that I was familiar with. And then obviously when I got to uni, there was extra disposable income from me working and getting some funding from the government, whereby and then I joined the Global Leader program, which was like an exchange program for a short period of time. So I was able to go to India, and then again I got to India and it looked nothing or like what the media was feeding us India looked like. So I was like, where else have they deceived us about? Um, so yeah, I just started traveling a lot more, sticking to in Europe. I was one of those people. I'll catch a Ryanair, EasyJet, those budget airline, £20, £30 before Brexit happened, when we were still quite affordable flights. And I'll go on Friday after lectures, spend like a whole weekend, Saturday, Sunday, immerse myself in a new culture, new food, newness. And Sunday night, I'll come back on a red out flight and be ready for lectures on Monday. So that was how I spent my weekend through
Wow.
uni. I wasn't clubbing. I wasn't. I was literally trying new places out. Um,
Wow.
and yeah, I was backpacking,
Wow.
staying in hostels. But that's how it started. And I tell people these things are ripple effect. You get to 10
Honestly.
and 30, and before you know it is a whole career that I didn't even see coming.
Honestly. I'm just like, as you said that, I'm like, look at that. So it was conceived.
Mm.
You've seen it. You've actually traveled in your mind before you brought it into reality. Talk about the power of reading, the power of visioning, and the seeds that what we see, what we hear, what we read, the seed that they sow. So sometimes it could be conscious or unconscious, right? So there are times that you just immerse yourself in a particular kind of thing and you
Mm.
might just be doing this, it's just for fun. I just read this thing. It's just for fun. It's just for fun. But
Mm.
guess what? It would probably start to direct your life. Because I can
Absolutely.
imagine, yeah, I can imagine you probably like soaking yourself into literatures like Mills
Yes.
and Bones. Uh,
Mm.
Oma,
Mm.
you'll probably be a romantic, like a, how they say, hopeless,
Hopeless romantic, low key am. But
right?
you're right, what you feed yourself, and I'm big on kind of like affirmations and how much you self believe. Like it was years later of me self exploring that discovered that wow, like there's this connection. Another thing that was there was like, in my A level, I was diagnosed with dyslexia, which is a learning difficulty.
No way.
And yeah, yeah, yeah. And I was very much in the Nigerian, no, 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 I'm okay, nothing's wrong with me, that kind of thing. And I got tested twice. And then in uni, I got the official report. I got all the support I needed, which was amazing. But the thing about having dyslexia is become quite reliant on people. You're constantly going to them to proofread your work, to check on things. And it can easily seep through your everyday life where you need permission from people, kind of like dependent on them in a way. And travel was that thing, especially with solo travel, that I did not need permission for. So it became quickly addictive and almost needed. I needed that outlet of I can go off and do my thing without needing to ask somebody about it. So that was another thing that fed into it. And I don't know if it's possible or not, but here we are.
Honestly, oh my God, that was
There.
so deep. That is so
Mhm.
thank you for sharing that because again, if you didn't, nobody would even like what this like did you would say they would say what?
Yeah, that's something I'm big on advocating. It's not something that's written on a face, a hidden disability or, learning difficulty, whatever you want to call it. But it is very much something that does affect your everyday life and how you move through the world. So yeah, I think it's definitely something that, yeah, I will be more than happy to speak more on.
I love it. I love it. So like, I would like to, go in that route to say that there are other things about Pelumi that people just don't have an idea now because now you said you've traveled 88 over 80 countries and now we have an idea that you actually even went to school, so it's not like you've been traveling on your
Yeah, yeah. I'm a Nigerian. Remember that. You're either a doctor, lawyer, or a disappointment. Um,
So what did you study?
I did my undergrad in biomedical science. Finished with a first class because I'm a bookworm like that. I love research. I love new things. I chose that career because it was quite broad and I could be doing anything. And then I pursued a PhD. I was a doctorate candidate for about 3 years, whereby I was looking at cancer research and human genetics. And it's very interesting how those things are now extrapolated into my, everyday life, even though I'm not doing them specifically, but they are skills, they're not wasted knowledge. I'm a big believer of that. So those kind of things are now kind of what I use when I'm researching kind of like travels and just having a very out of the box kind of like approach to my travels. But yeah, it was something I did for a while, and then the pandemic hit, and I had to navigate that change. There was a lab
Mm,
closure, which means I lost all my samples, which meant I had to come with this: who is Pelumi without the identity of her having a
yeah.
PhD,
Mm,
or being a PhD candidate. I think we can easily, as human, become who we are. And it's very, 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 can be quite a tricky place to be when what you do is who you are. Because at one point in life, you might stop doing that thing. Then who are you when you're no longer doing that thing. So I'm very conscious, even now with all these accolades and everything, and whatever celebrity status, whatever people want to call me, I have to always remind myself that I am just doing all these things. I am not necessarily those things. It's super important to separate those constantly in your mind, because you can get lost in the sauce. And when people don't give you that attention anymore, will you just fall into depression, or will you be able to move on with other things, because you know that is not the completion of you? So, yeah, I think that has been a learning kind of like momentum I've been through over the years. Um, that's brought me to this point where I'm just kind of hoping to continue to inspire other people to seek big adventures, but live life as big, and not just restrict to the things that they do, because there's more to
Mm,
absolutely.
absolutely. I love it. Like, I'm just enjoying the depth of who you are.
No, thank
I'm curious to know, how do you, you just mentioned something in passing now to say that being being grounded in your identity, so that what you do per time, because again, life is in seasons and in phases, and um for most of us, or for those of us who have gone on that journey of self-development, we also know that life is in assignment, purpose is in assignment. So all this, at per time there will be something that you need to put to the forefront and all of
you.
that. How do
Mhm.
you maintain your core identity?
Mm.
Are there any specific things that you do, Belumi, to remind yourself to stay grounded? Like, okay, yeah, I was a PhD, something
Mm.
happened. Well, I moved on. I explored another part of me. Now I'm traveling and doing all these things. When the time is right, I'll probably move on to something else. How do you keep that Belumi anchored?
I think I have the fundamental, the belief that life is in chapters. Some people see life as this, like career building, for example. They are constantly going back. I believe I can do a project, finish it, move on to the next thing. And that allows me to have multiple identity in terms of like, or multiple things I've done with my life, which is why typical when they say, what do you do? And being open to that idea of people will judge you for what you want to be judged at, but what does Pelumi want to be known as? I think looking from the perspective of legacy, what do I want to leave behind after I'm gone? Allows for a more substantial thing, knowing who I am, asking those important. I'm a big journal. I take time off. I go off grid. As much as I'm on social, I'm off social you know, um, take time off, asking myself this conversation and questions like, who does Philip want to be known as? I've written my obituary, that kind of like, what do I want to be known for when I'm gone? And there's just this element of me. I love travel. I'm courageous. I love to, liberate other women, give them the permission slip to do the things they want to do. So these just naturally feed into the way I move, the content, the people I connect with. Um, and yeah, I think those are just like the very subtle things about, again, faith coming to things. I think when you know that, all this stuff is temporary,
Mm.
um, and there's a bigger, goal, which is heaven, at least for myself, it allows me to again be grounded whereby, as Bible described, this is fluff, dust, vacuum, nothing,
Disappears.
it's yeah, literally like vapor. So that just put things in perspective. This mansion, whatever you're building, is literally vapor. And yes, it gives you. I'm still very driven. I'm still very ambitious. I'm not willy willy, whereby I don't have any desires, but the desires are a lot more. I think, at least for myself, I try to make them more substantial in terms of kind of like building over time and kind of like seeing what do I want to do really? I think re-asking myself that question, not what people expect from me, not what people want from me, what does Pelumi want? And I feel that just always guaranteed a fulfilled life, because you're moving towards the direction that is right for you and purposeful for you exactly.
I love
So
it.
yeah,
I love
that's
it. I
that's
love
right.
it. I love it. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'll go back to the first question I asked about fear before the journey. On the
Yes.
journey itself,
Mhm.
while you drove into what, especially, I mean, from you crossing from Europe to Africa was not even. Was not even hard at all. Before you know it, pim, you've crossed.
Yes, it was so easy. I was like, I can't be. Is this is let's go. I was deceived.
How did you handle the fear when
Hmm.
it came during the trip itself, especially when you crossed over to Africa and you started to see all these different behaviors and rules and regulations and things that there was just some of them were just out of place. And how did you deal with the fear on the journey itself?
I reminded myself why I started the journey. You know, why was this important for me? It was a trip. It was fun as well. I think not losing sight of that. Not taking things too seriously or personally. I think, I love this. What's that book? Five Law. Oh, I had to find that book. But it's always about. There was one of the principle which is like not taking things personally. A lot of the time things are just happening, and it's more of how do you react will determine the outcome. So
Mm,
very, very big on okay, you have to be very sensitive and discerning. This is happening. What is my reaction going to be towards it? I've just been delayed at the border. What am I going to do? Will I have time to connect with the officers and try and make it as pleasant as possible? Definitely not in the most comfortable position, but what are you going to do about it? So I think there's just that mindset of, okay, I can do this, I can do that, or I can change the perspective of what I'm living with. But it really is um, remembering why you started, remembering that it's fine to have the series of emotions. I think it's very unhealthy to always be positive. I was frustrated. There were moments like I documented me crying, and there was all the human emotions I went through, and it's okay to feel all those things. But then it's like, how are you just gonna pull yourself out? What is the solution? I'm very solution orientated. It's kind of like, okay, we're in this mess. So what is the way forward? That's a lot of the time when I'm talking to people in my team. They'll kind of like, well, let me always say, okay, I have heard all your complaints. What is the way
what's the
forward?
way forward?
I think if you have that mindset, there will always be a way forward. So I'm a big believer where there's a will, there's a way. So once you're in that, okay, we'll move past this, we'll get through it. It does allow for a more pleasant experience. But yeah, those are the kind of principles I lean on when I
Absolutely.
feel fear in the moment.
Yeah. When that accident happened, did you think you were going to stop the trip? Like, did it at any point during that period cross your mind like, so I will not finish the trip like this? Or were you just like, this is going to happen? Yeah.
An impact when I saw the airbags in my face, I thought that was it. That was my initial thing. It's just, I think I was like, it's over. Like, I think that was the first kind of like message that came to my end. In first few seconds, I was just like so close to the finish line, you know, it just felt like coming from a place where vehicles are written off on occasions like this, it just felt like there's no, but then, I remember being admitted to the hospital and quite keen to leave as quickly as possible. Um, I was like, oh wow, there's a fight in you. Okay. I surprised myself in so many in those situations. This trip really showed this level of strength. I think you don't realize how much strength you take until you're knocked down and you have to crawl up from those pits. I saw a different level of strength from me. Like if I had been like, do she's guys, we are flying home, nobody would have been mad. They will see the pictures, they'll be like, she tried her best, she's in Ivory Coast, 3 countries to the end. It's okay. It's London to Ivory Coast is still pretty,
Is this something?
it's still pretty damn amazing. But I went back to that. What was my why? And my why wasn't to win any accolades. I wasn't trying to break any record. I was simply trying to show. the everyday person, the everyday woman that, look, if you ever thought London to Lagos was impossible with a Peugeot 107 as a female traveler by herself, and then now you've seen me do it, what else in your life have you written off for yourself and considered impossible? Is it starting that business? Is it leaving that toxic relationship? Is it doing that hard project you've always wanted to do? Here, this is your permission slip. Go and do it. I couldn't take away that permission slip at that point. I couldn't take it away from those 10 years old, 12 years old girls that ask their parents about my journey every single day. I couldn't take it away from those 65 years old, 70 women that say, I want to restart my life just by seeing your journey and the audacity you've had. I couldn't. So there was that level of self wanting to finish, because this was a personal journey too, as well. Like I spoke about my PhD, there was a lot of guilt around not finishing and completing, even though it was like an external force that caused me to not finish. It was almost this narrative of telling me you never finish things, or you never
Mm.
attached to it. And now this was my opportunity to do something as hard as a PhD, um, and finish it. So for me, I had to finish it. It was very important. It was very personal. And then it then had these other hundreds of thousands of people that have joined this journey, cheering me on, wanting as much as I did to finish it. So yeah, to answer your question, I had to complete the journey. Now I'm tearing up.
Honestly, like my head is swelling. I'm like, oh my goodness, God bless you. Thank you for fighting. Thank you for fighting. My next question to you, as we're getting close to rounding off this, is around, you're so deep. That I give to you because you have allowed yourself experience life on different levels. And with your travels, you've experienced people, you've experienced culture, you've experienced places. What is one or a few, if there's more than one thing that you found common amongst humans with all the different people that you've met or cultures? Like you just find like as much as we are different, this one thing or this couple of things are actually the same about us as a human.
Mm. We want to be loved and want to give love most of the time as humans. I honestly believe most humans are good. I had encounters of strangers that went out of their way. Post accident, there's someone called Desiree. I call her my personal angel, that left her family 2 days, was sleeping on the same bed with me in the hospital, bathing me, feeding me. This is a complete stranger that did not speak my language. She spoke French. There was that level of humanity I saw. Then there was Yasmin that let me in her home and didn't make me feel uncomfortable while they were fixing my car. Almost 10 days. A complete stranger again that I met on the internet, that fed me, that let me use her space like it was mine. And then many other encounters throughout the road trip. So humans are kind. And I know we are fed this narrative that they are not. I choose not to believe it. There are a few bad eggs, but majority of people just want to be humans. They just want to feel a level of love and they want to give that love back to other people. We are more similar than different. We are all storytellers. We all have something that we are trying to achieve with this little short period of time we're existing for. And we are all striving, and we just need to be more aware of ourselves sometimes. I think, sometimes we are so much in our own pursuit, we just forget that we are all coexisting and we're just a little bit more mindful about people and why they react and giving them grace. I think the world will be in a better place. But those are the few lessons I've learned from the road of just kindness, meeting people with kindness and treating people the way you want to be treated at every
Right.
point in time. Yeah, I really believe that.
I love it. Like as you was just even explaining, I was having goosebumps. Like, oh my god. Honestly, honestly, I love that you've shared that so that
Mm,
again, because from your perspective, it is more, it is almost like it is more it is more genuine because if I sit here, I haven't been to many countries, And probably just by relating with people online, I come to that conclusion. It wouldn't make sense. But here you are, you've been to over 80. And I think plus the almost 17 you added on that journey on that trip from London to
That's
Lagos.
included. So 80 something, 87, I believe it's
Exactly.
87.
Almost we're counting down to 100,
We
right?
are, we are, we are.
You've met a couple of people and have experienced. So it is good to hear from somebody like you, like intrinsically
Mm,
humans are kind. We want to be loved and we want to give love back.
mm,
As we round off this session, Pelumi, thank you so much for sharing. I want you to speak to three sets of people. You're going to speak to generally everybody, then you're going to speak to women specifically, and then you're going to speak to girls. So, what would your message be? Because with your journey, honestly, it is almost like it is rounded, and getting to dig deep into the why behind it. First of all, is very is even it now makes me appreciate the journey even more, and then learning a little bit, a tiny witty bit about your own personal experiences in the past and
yeah.
all the things that have come together to make you this amazing woman. So I know you can speak to this three set of people. If you have a word to say to them, please speak to them.
I love this question. Because I believe words can change people. Sometimes some life decisions are made and based on just hearing someone say something at that particular time where I needed either that affirmation or all of that stuff. So I'm a very big believer of just kind of like connect people using words. To everybody, to everybody. One of my, statement piece, one thing I want to be known at with is the magic is in the doing. I am such a big believer of that. Like, nobody is coming to save you. Nobody is coming to put a life right in you. You need to save yourself. And by doing so, you need to take action. Like I said, this trip took a year plus of planning. I'm a big believer of preparation, but at one point, you need to be scared, be petrified, do it with butterflies, handshaking, jump and just do it. Because until I turned on that ignition, until I saw my house and my rearview mirror get smaller and smaller, until I put my car on that ferry and started this journey, it would never have been what it turned out to be. I will still be in London, homing and outing. I'm still planning this London to Lagos road trip. So you need to set a deadline and then take action to do it. And, like I said, humans most time are not petrified of starting. They're mostly scared of what people will say, do, or think. And people will always have something to say, do, or think. But you have to be okay with that and know
Mm,
that life will keep going, whether you choose to take action or not. And again, be okay with that decision. So that's for the general. Please get doing, make the mistake, fail fast, get up, do it again, do it better, fine tune, listen to feedback. Don't wait for everything to be perfect and everything to align. So that would be something I'll say for everyone. As women, please do not disqualify yourself. We live in a society that constantly disqualifies us. We are put in a box. We are told we are not enough. We are told we are not sufficient. We're not good enough. We're not this. We're not that. We need to be able to do more. We need to give ourselves the permission slips. We need to break down the social expectation and construction and actually take tangible steps to do those things we want to do. Because at the end of the day, literally, I'm living a life whereby I want to have as little could have, should have, would have. And I encourage other people to do the same. I tend to hang out with older people, and one of their biggest regrets are the things they do not do rather than the things that they do do. So please, women, take your permission. If they won't give you a seat on the table, build your own damn table and live a life that you will be okay with living at the end of the day. As a young girl, oh, young Pelumi, oh, I love you. Continue to lean into your curiosity. Continue
mm,
to Don't let the world change you. Be as soft as possible. Let your heart remain soft. Continue to be crazy. You know where I'll be going with this. If no one has called you crazy this year, you're playing life too safe. Let people call you crazy. Take that childlike craziness, that imagination, and don't let go of that, because adults will rob you of that. They'll say, "Oh, is it not time to settle down? It's not time." No, it's not time. Continue to be, people would constantly be impressed by you and annoyed by you because you have chosen not to follow the conventional thing, but still continue to do that. So yeah, I think those are a few words that I hope continue to resonate in the minds of all these people. And I guess it can be intertwined and interused by all people. Um, but yeah, adventure is important and exciting all at the same time.
Wow, thank you so much. I can stop smiling. I could sit with you all day and I'll just keep getting inspired and inspired. It's like you're a ball of inspiration. I used to say to myself, well, I still say that I'm an inspirator by design, but oh
Yeah.
man, I think your own level of inspiration is high.
Oh my God. Thank you so much.
But
It's such a
thank
joy.
you.
It's such a
Thank
joy.
you so much for being here, for sharing your story, for giving us permission to live.
Yes. Yes.
Live in a way that we can be proud of, not in a way that others will be proud of, not for others, but for
Mhm.
ourselves and for God, right? To
Exactly.
know that, okay, you have put me here. There's a reason I am
There's a
here.
reason.
Let's
There's a
explore
reason.
it. Let's
Yes.
explore it. Let's not box ourselves. Let's not say what would they say, what would people do, what we, I think that's one of the biggest killers. And it's just that fear of being judged.
Mhm.
But again, we need to be okay. Like whether you do it or not, you will still be judged. So why not do it?
Exactly. Exactly. They'll always have something to say. Give them something to talk about. Guide the
Absolutely.
conversation.
It's like give them a roadmap,
Exactly.
outline.
Like, so you don't miss the road. You just be giving them insights. Okay, well, this is what we are doing this time. We don't they do this one. We are talk about it. Give them
I
work to
love it. That's a
do.
good way. That's a good way to think about it. Give them something to talk. We want to talk. Okay, I'll give you outline. Chapter 1. There we go.
Exactly.
Oh my goodness, you are
Oh,
such a
such
joy. Thank you
super
so
joy.
much. God bless you.
Thank you for
All right,
creating
guys. I hope.
such a
Yeah.
beautiful space, a space that people can continue sharing and stretching. I love that. I love the fact that it's almost like a muscle. You need to constantly stretch yourself. And for you to hold such a beautiful space, I want to give you your flowers. So thank you. And yeah, continue to tune into this. I'll do the like, subscribe this thing because I know people don't realize how important it is. So please, if you've tuned in and you've loved it, please make sure to like, subscribe, share with a person, just one friend. Just be like, you might be interested in this. And sometimes we don't ask for payment for these things, and it is time, commitment, and we appreciate you. And this is how you can appreciate us too as well. So sending you love and thank you again for tuning in.
Oh, that was so sweet. All right, guys. So like come your way again next week with another episode on the Stretch Street Podcast. This is the energetic EJ. Take care. Bye.
Bye.